means.
I'll tell you what the Global South is. The Global South is not a bloc. The Global South is a sentiment. It's a sentiment born out of a model of predatory economics, which they all experienced during years of colonialism, and then emerging from it into the aftermath of the Second World War, the Global South gave birth to the non-aligned movement. Okay? Now, this place, Cairo, in many ways was the epicenter of that movement with President Nasser. 1961 was the first conference on the non-aligned movement. And what was the non-aligned movement all about at that point of time? The non-aligned movement was about the simple concern that the rules-based global order could be and was being weaponized to create spheres of influence. That was the fear. And that is where the momentum of the non-aligned movement really built up through all these years. It was much derided by the so-called global north.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
The non-aligned movement is fantastic. I just think that the visualization of the global south versus the global north creates a mindset of less than. Because it creates a visual of there is a part of the world that is under the north and needs to be directed by the north. And I challenge that, but I give it to you.
The magnetic poles are shifting and the north becomes the south, and that is what is happening. Okay? And these flips have happened through the ages and the millennia, and they will be happening again. So what is on top and what is on bottom, we do not know. Today, when we start talking about BRICS, now BRICS today carries the momentum of large, huge economies on the move. The fastest growing economies are part of BRICS. Demographics is with BRICS. And global power is shifting. But more important than the shift in global power, something else is happening. So if we are back to the world of predatory economics, certain countries are closing their borders, are closing their economies, while insisting that others open theirs. It's a complete perversion. Now, back to a different kind of economics, which was at play centuries ago, or just 1.5 centuries ago. So in this situation, the BRICS, the deeper shift which is happening is that there is a shift in discourse. And the centers, the global centers of discourse are again shifting. You have conferences like this in Cairo again, ECES. The great work that ECS is doing here. Please participate in the debates taking place in Africa. Please participate in the conferences happening across all parts of the global south. There's a big difference between the ideas being discussed there, the voice being given to Gen Z in these places, which you see right here in the ECS, is different from what you see happening in Western Europe. It's very difficult to have a sane debate many times. You have to tread on eggshells to have a conversation. There are parts which will not be discussed, the issues which will not be discussed. Similar is the state in Washington, D.C. You cannot have these conversations.
Yeah.
So that is the big difference. If BRICS is making a difference, if the plurilateral bodies are making a difference, if capitals like Cairo are making a difference, it is because they are becoming the leaders of discourse, and that is where the shift is going to occur. That is the shift which we are seeing. There are many opportunities. Maria was speaking about some of them, but I'll say there is one big opportunity, and that big opportunity is President Trump. President Trump is the biggest opportunity. And I'm even prepared to say he's probably God's gift to mankind in a certain way. And thank you, President Trump. He has made countries across the world, including Europe, realize Europe today talks strategic autonomy. Europe today talks multi-alignment. Europe today talks about how they should actually have been investing in their own security. So does this particular region. They are also talking in terms of how to decouple, how to move away, how to securitize themselves locally, regionally, within this larger order. So there is a real concern about threats arising amongst all of them, which is a good sign. And for all these countries, including India, including many parts of Africa and Europe and Asia, national security today has become the primary concern which actually intersects trade, investments, innovation, and how technology will move, what partnerships they will enter into when you come to technology arrangements. So when negotiations now keeps happen and start between across nations, and there are a lot of conversations, a lot of discussions taking place between, I would not just say India, Europe, between the Gulf and Europe, between Africa and Europe, between the Gulf and India. See, there are the multiple discussions taking place, multiple agreements quietly happening below the radar, where you're building up local, regional models of globalization. The North...
Let's pause there for a second.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you? Local and regional models of globalization.
See, globalization actually is not dead. We, as far as India is concerned, as far as Africa is concerned, we believe that there is no such thing as independence. You will be interdependent. You will have to be dependent on other countries for various things. It could be energy, it could be food. Every country will have dependencies. Now, those dependencies, if you have to live with those dependencies, you need reliable partners. And those reliable partners will have to be diverse. So that whole idea of diversity, building those diverse supply chains, building an alternate models, whether it is energy, whether it is food, whatever the requirements of the region, whether it is innovation in technology, to be building these multiple partnerships where each can help each other with sufficient insurance. See, that is where national security has become a primary concern, which intersects, as I said, across trade, across innovation, across technology. And when we start talking today about investments, a key part of that investment is the idea, especially when it comes to security, co-production. There will not be any partnership without co-production. There has to be technology transfer. So the bargaining is going to get a little harder. It's going to get a little more difficult for the Western nations when these conversations come into many of these discussions. So that is the big shift which is happening. And I think there are a lot of opportunities which exist at the regional level, at the local level, and including even the US. US will be an important part of this negotiation, so will Europe. One of many, and the principles of these many platforms is primarily the same. They are all consensus-driven. Now, most people will think that is a weakness. That is not a weakness. That consensus-driven operations are actually a source of strength. They allow countries in the global south, with the larger countries within the global south, say India and China, to maybe agree, disagree within certain forums on certain issues, build their alliances, build their networks, and give voice to whatever their core concerns are. You see, they will not always agree amongst themselves. There will be differences. We all have different needs. We all have different dependencies. Now, how for each nation to be able to exist, to get empowered, to get to the right place, to the right partner, with the right question. Now, that is where these coalitions are really building up, and it is not just within the BRICS. There are multiple organizations. So, there is this, I say we are in a game of predatory economics. When you're in a game of predatory economics, you don't play chess. You play predator and prey. In India, we call it the Bagh Bakri game. There's one predator, there's several prey. And the only way you can contain the predators is by banding together and limit the predator's room to maneuver, to move, block him. Now, this is the kind of games that are going to be played, and these are the platforms, these are the groupings which make those possible. We've seen it happen during climate change negotiations. We've seen it happen during trade negotiations, even when the global trade bodies have been deliberately collapsed, undermined, and destroyed by the creators of those bodies, mind you. But the people who created the rules-based order went around demolishing it, mercilessly. These kinds of coalitions are coming into existence, and that is where their strength lies.
Fantastic. Okay, I'd love to open it up to the room for questions.